was talking about Gina before we started tonight, and then I said judges training is going to be interesting because I always talk about judges training being like a double-edged sword. And she said, well, how does that work? I said, if you can learn to be a good judge, if you understand the criteria that a judge is looking for, you will become a better speaker. And so if you're a good judge, you're a better speaker. If you're a better speaker, you potentially can be a better judge. But tonight I'd like to talk about the criteria. And I had a speech queued up, if I can get my electronics to work for me. But I'm going to bypass the speech, move right into judges training, because we had some speeches playing. If there's time, it's at the end or something, we can do that. So this is about judges training. So some interesting, you all have a handout, and it's a reference tool. You don't have to follow along. If it's easier for you to do that, you can. The slides don't completely match up with the handout, but hopefully that's a reference tool, something you go back and look at post-Toastmasters meeting. So the purpose of Toastmasters contest, provide an opportunity to learn by observing the more proficient speakers who have benefited from their Toastmasters experience, international speech. This is much the same. Again, to provide an opportunity for speakers to improve their speaking abilities and recognize the best as encouragement to all. The same thing with evaluation contest. We don't get into contests because we're the best. David Brooks will tell you, the 1990 world champion, we get into contests to become the best. Some of you have been to contests before, and you see people win, and you do this. How did that happen? And sometimes it boils down to judging. I've been to many contests where the judging obviously has been poor. So my purpose tonight is to make you a better judge. So what are some of the criteria to be a judge, a qualified judge? The very minimum is you have to have at least 6 speeches under your belt to be a qualified Toastmasters judge by Toastmasters International. And I'll tell you quite honestly and frankly, that's not enough with the exception of club level. I would accept 6 speeches minimum at club level, but not any level above that. It's simply not enough experience to be a good qualified judge. Now you can take judges training. That is another. You can take judges training and you don't have to have really any speeches. Again, I don't agree with that either. So judges training, good judges training will make you a better judge, and that would qualify you. I have been a district judge at a district level contest, and if you don't know the order, we have contests that start at club level. If you win there, they move up to an area level. If you win there, you go to division level. If you win there, you go to district. In international speech, if you win there, then you go for a runoff competition to be one of the best in the world at the international speech contest. So for many of us, district and other contests, district is as high as you go in our district. So I've been on an elevator with 2 young ladies going up to judges training, or judges briefing before the contest. And I'm not saying anything, which is normal for me. And the 2 young ladies are having a conversation between each other saying, have you ever been a judge before? No. Have you ever been a judge before? No. Isn't this going to be fun? And I said, are you kidding me? You've never been a judge before? You're at a district competition and you've never been a judge ever, and now you're going to be a judge. I said, so let me give you the 60-second elevator speech on how to be a good judge. And then we'll go to judges briefing. Had it been me, had I been the chief judge, I would have disqualified them from being judges, because I guarantee you they did not do justice to the judging process. So my goal is that you will be good judges. You'll take this tool home and use it as a reference to be a good judge. Having said that, we will move on. So here are all my trophies. Isn't that cool? 15 years of trophies, contests, tournaments. There's, but contests really, and I say this all the time, you'll hear me say it if you know me long enough, contests should not be about the trophies. Are trophies fun? Yeah, they're cool, they're fun. Nice to have the collection of trophies. But the value is not in the trophy. So, there's 35 Toastmaster trophies there over my 15 years. That's cool, right? It's sort of nifty. 9 district competitions.
Reflection of who you have become, though, as
a 9 district competitions that I have qualified and gone to and competed in. Out of those 9 district competitions, 4 of those I've been a district champion. Another 5 I've been a runner-up. So you see, I lose more than I win. So what's the purpose of all this? Why does it mean anything? I only show you this to you for one reason. I'm hoping it drives the point home, because, all those trophies on that table, they don't live there. That's my kitchen table. They don't live there, right? Where do they live? At my house. I need a new battery. They live in cardboard boxes, stowed away in my basement. The value is not in the trophies. Here's the value. Trophies should be a metaphor for your hard work. To give your best self away so that others can gain. That's what it's all about. Winning is great. Winning is fun. Winning is a great thing to do. But that's not why we should give speeches. Why should you attend a contest? To become better. Art, have you ever competed in a contest?
I have. Evaluation.
Correct. And you did a very good job. How many contests have you been to, though? Non-competing?
Non-competing?
A lot,
about
right?
7. A lot.
A lot, right?
A lot.
And you've been involved in judges training before? You've been involved in contests before in different capacities? Would you not agree with me that, and I will submit that you learn almost as much from being involved in the contest process, whether you're competing or whether you're involved in the process, whether you're a contest chair, a chief judge, a timer, a ballot counter. You'll learn a lot as a ballot counter. I love that job because you get to count how all the judges voted. Now you can't tell anybody, but you know in your mind what happens. Contest is a great thing to do. It's a great thing to participate in. Sometimes we get members like, oh, it's a contest, I'm not going to come. It's so important because it's not just a contest. It's not just about being a better speaker. It's not just about being a judge. It's about becoming a better communicator, giving a better message. And even if you're in the audience, you're observing the more proficient speakers, and you're becoming better through osmosis, just by observing and watching what's going on. So the purpose of judges training, you know exactly what to do. Those two girls I rode in the elevator with were clueless. We went to judges briefing. It was like first grade all over again. They had to learn absolutely every little detail. And at a district level contest, you don't want judges who have to do that. Fair and impartial contest. If you have good judges, you'll have fair and impartial contests. Impartiality is one of the hardest things to get past. Trust me, I know. Good judges training is a double-edged sword. I've already talked about this. If you're a good judge, you'll be a better speaker, because you know the criteria the judges are looking for. And if you know the criteria the judges are looking for, you have to become a better speaker, because you're adhering to specific criteria. So this is busy, and I don't want to read all this, and I don't want you guys to read this later at home. I'm not going to take the time to do this. But here's some things about judging. There are two types of judges. There are regular judges and tiebreaker judges. The difference between the two is a tiebreaker judge has to judge all the contestants. If there's 9 contestants, they have to judge and rank and rate each and every one of them. A regular judge, only the first 3. So this explains all that, and I'm not going to take time to do all that, because that will happen for you in judges briefing. Here's what the difference, the tear-off stub on the ballot looks like. Standard judge, and you have to rank first, second, first place. Tiebreaker judge, you have to fill in all the places of all the speakers, and you have to rank them. You can't have any ties. You cannot have a tie. You can't say, gosh, the first speaker and the third speaker, and you look at the scores, they were exactly the same. I'll put them both down. Your ballot will be disqualified. Torn up, thrown away, won't be counted. So it's a waste. You have to break your own ties. You have to pick and choose who wins the contest. It's your number one duty. They're ranked by points. The first place speaker gets 3 points. Second place speaker gets 2 points. Third place speaker gets 1 point. And at the end, they add up all these points. And I always tell everybody, you can be a ballot counter if you can count to 5 on one hand. And then, because you can, it's pretty easy stuff. It's simple math. So here's my quote from David Brooks, the 1990 world champion. Contests are simply the fastest route to greatest improvement. If you want to get good, if you want to get better, if you want to improve, involve yourself in a contest. Whether you're a contestant, or you're participating, helping organize a contest, and being a part of that contest. And one club level contest is better than 1 month of club meetings. In one area contest, and in 6 months of meetings. In one division contest, in 12 months of meetings. That's how fast you can grow. And ask anybody in here who's competed in a contest if that is not true. Everyone in this room who's competed will have testimony to that fact. When you compete, you can't help but get better at a much faster rate than if you would at just attending weekly meetings, or coming every other week, or once a month, or 4 times a year. You want to get good, you want to get good fast, you come every week, and you get yourself involved in contests when we have them. So here's the big difference. As Toastmasters, we evaluate everything, right? We don't do anything in a meeting without evaluation. And now we're going to be a judge. I cannot tell you how many judges I have spoken to post-contest who are telling me how, well, I thought it should have been better this way, and I thought it should have been better that way. It's like, we're not evaluating here. We're judging on specific criteria. And so here's the difference. When you look at this, a good Toastmaster judge, a good Toastmasters evaluator, these two paragraphs are exactly the same. Is able to see a speech as a unified whole. They see how each component of the presentation adds to or subtracts from the effectiveness of the speech. Here's what's different. Actually, these are the same. These are the different. Measures the quality of the speech components against specific criteria. When you're a judge, there's a ballot with specific criteria on it. When you're an evaluator, it's about your opinion. When you're a judge, it's not about your opinion, how the speech could have been better, how it could have sounded better, how they could have done this, how they could have done that. It's not about that. That's evaluating. When you're a judge, you're taking what they did that night that you heard it, whoever the speaker was, judging it against specific criteria that is on the ballot's form. Nothing else matters. So, my buddy David Caban says that judging contest is and I'm going to get this wrong, is an objective process, subjective process that we try to make objective. I think I got that backwards. But I think you know what I mean. You're smart folks, you can figure it out. Oh, this is live, isn't it, Art? Oh, no. So what should the judges look for on the ballot? We're going to go through the ballot step by step. So here's what a ballot looks like, the top half, without where you tear it off and sign the name. So there's a total of 100 points on a ballot. And it's interesting when you break it down. 50 points is devoted to content. Half of your speech is devoted to content. 30% is devoted to delivery and your delivery style. 20% is devoted to your language and the appropriateness. I'm going to break each one of these categories down so that you understand the ballot. And again, this stuff is in your handout. I give you that so you can take it home, use it as a reference, because you won't remember this stuff. You guys know statistically, right, that anytime you attend a workshop, a training session, that you only retain about 10% of everything you see, read, and hear. And 72 hours from now, that drops by 50%. So now you're down to 5%. 3 weeks from now, heck, you won't remember that I was here. So, or that you were here.
Remember the lights, though.
Yeah, the lights, the Christmas lights will be good. We'll know it was sometime around Christmas. So as we break it down, we're going to start off with speech development. It is part of your content, 50% of your speech. So here's what you're thinking about as you're a judge. Structure, organization of the speech material. So here's how it works. Did the speaker pique curiosity? As a judge, as an audience member, did they pique your curiosity with what it was they had to share with you? That's something important. It's part of the content. Did the speaker state their purpose quickly? You've heard the speeches. I've heard the speeches. I have no idea what the speaker's talking about until the last 30 seconds of the speech. And then I go, oh, that's what he was talking about. Instead of me being able to follow him all along from the speech. So get to your point within the first 60 seconds. Did the speaker repeat their theme, something that you want that speaker to do? Repeat the theme. What am I supposed to be thinking about? What am I supposed to be learning? Why is this good for me? Why is this about me? Because our speeches are always about the audience. Did the speaker use personal examples of either their life or someone else's life that they bring in, and then they share that content and how it relates to you and your life? I've heard the speeches that don't do that. Did the speaker transition smoothly between their examples? And a lot of times that's done with you questions. You tell your story, and have you ever experienced that before? I fell down on the ice skating, broke my kneecap. Have you ever fallen down on the ice before? Maybe not broken your kneecap, but it hurt really bad, and you learned something like that. You're ice skating and you're over 50, wear knee pads. Tough crowd. Did the speaker's close have finality? Did they close well? Or did they wrap it up? Did it feel like they were out of time? And so you missed something about it. It just didn't feel right because the close was not done well. It's a very important part. So we'll move on from speech development to effectiveness. Achievement of purpose. Interest, reception. As a judge, you want to feel the audience. Look around. Who's paying attention? If they're using humor, who's laughing? Who's not laughing? If it's a serious moment, who's paying attention? So that's part of being a good judge. You just scan around the room. Do they have the attention of the audience? Did the speaker make their point clearly? Or was it foggy for you? Were there actually 3 speeches going on in this one speech? You want to make sure you have a point for your speech, one message. Did the speaker hold the audience's attention for the full 7 minutes? The CD I was playing earlier, as you were walking in, there's 9 speeches on there. There's at least 2 speeches that I couldn't tell you anything about them as I watched them because my mind wandered. They lost me. And pretty soon the speech was over and I go, oh, I missed it. As a judge, are they keeping your attention? Are they keeping the attention of the speakers around them? Did the audience respond appropriately throughout the speech? That's a hint to tell you if the audience is with the speaker or not. Is the speaker one with the audience? So that becomes really important. Move on to speech value. Ideas, logic, originality of thought. Was the speech significant or important? 10 steps to better hygiene. You can give that speech, but an international speech contest, probably not going to win anything. If it does, we need to think about the judges. You need to have something significant to say, something original. And people ask me, it's like, oh, what are you going to compete against? When are you going to compete against? I'm like, I have enough trophies. I have to have a significant message that I want to give away to the audience before I compete again. And that's when I'll compete again. Now, if you're newer to Toastmasters, you should compete because, one, it's a great learning opportunity. Not that I'm giving up on learning opportunities, but it's a learning tool, it's a growing tool. And come on, you've got to have tons of ideas. As a new speaker, I just have to believe everybody's got tons of ideas, tons of stories in your life you can share with people to help people's lives. You've got them. You should be telling those stories. Does the speaker touch the head and the heart? The head and the heart. The speech that we were watching right before we convened our meeting did both of those. Did you see the tears on his face? When I watched that the first time, there were tears on my face too. He touched my heart. But it was also intellectual. He touched my head. He was good in both areas. So as a judge, you need to think about those things. Is he touching the heart? Is he touching the head? Is he saying something worthwhile, something original? Was the speech original and creative? You saw the, right? That was original. I've never seen that anywhere before. In 2001, Darren LaCroix fell down on the stage, and he spoke while he was laying down on the stage. And that was original. Nobody had ever done that before. On a scale from 1 to 10, it was an 11. So think about, what do I have? What can I do? I'm not saying, I jumped off a ladder one year. I'm not suggesting that you should do that. Was the speech, did a speaker challenge the listener? It's not required, but I'll tell you, a lot of judges look for that. They look for the challenge. They want to know that the speaker is challenging the audience to think something differently, to do something differently, to feel something differently. And you've heard me say it, and you've heard others in this club say it. You know, the reason you're here as a speaker is because what do you want the audience to take away? What do you want them to think, feel, or do differently? Because you were there. And again, that comes from Darren LaCroix. That's not my stuff. I'm just remixing other people's stuff from my coaches, from my mentors. So I think it's a good idea to leave the audience with a challenge. If for no other reason, if you're competing as speaker, it gives you maybe one little step up from somebody else who didn't leave a challenge. So we move down to the delivery, physical appearance, body language. Did the speaker's hand gestures complement their words? You can tell folks who have rehearsed their gestures because sometimes the words they're speaking don't match up with the gestures that they're talking about. I was moving down the stage, and then this big giant came blasting through the trees. They don't match up. And, you know, how many times you rehearse, that's a personal thing. Whatever you want to do to make it good. Were the speaker's gestures natural and balanced? And that comes with stage time, my friends. The more stage time you have, this becomes natural and balanced. I can't tell you in the early days, the speeches that I gave, I staged my gestures, I staged my movements, and people say, you look too mechanical. And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. You look like Mr. Speaker Man. Listen to me. Just because I'm here to speak. You're not conversational enough. I struggled with that for so many years. I don't get it. I don't understand. Can anybody explain it to me? Nobody could ever explain it to me. David Caban was probably the best. And I mentioned David Caban. Most of you probably don't know him. He was in somebody correct me if I got it wrong, 1999. He was third in the world. And he's from our district. And so he was one of my mentors as well. And so David Caban's a great resource. And he said, practice your speech like you're talking to your wife over the kitchen table. Really? But the people in the other room aren't going to hear me then. I need more volume. You have to speak appropriately to the size of your audience. If you're giving and that's part of what I would do at a club level. We're a small, intimate group. I give this huge speech, great big, huge gestures, like I was talking to 2,000 people, and there's 12 people in the room. Thinking, why is he doing that? Like that? How did the speaker look on stage? Like an international speech contestant. I was telling Gina, I always try and show when I do judges training a speech, and we were watching some prior to the meeting starting, because I want the judges to know what an international level speech should look like. Because if the judges don't know what one's supposed to look like, how are they supposed to judge somebody on an international speech contest based on what? On something they don't know, something they've never seen before? And so, as a judge, hopefully you've seen a World Championship speech. With YouTube now, they're all over the place. You can find them. They're free. You can watch them. You've seen some tonight. I have last year's in this presentation at the beginning of it, but I skipped past it just for time. As a judge, you should have some idea of what a World Championship speech should look like, as far as the development, the originality, the content. The gestures don't have to be like they're on a stage with 2,000 people in the audience. It should be smaller. But what is the content behind it? So then we move on to voice, flexibility, and volume. Did their voice, could you hear them? You've seen speakers, right? You get to the mic. You get to the mic. Hi. Really glad to be here today. There's a lot of snow and ice on the way in. Glad you're here. I'm going to have a good time. Really? Are you having a good time? Come on, you've got to be with it. You've got to have life. Be the spirit of the party. You're leading the pack. You have to act like you're on stage. You have to act like you're full of passion. You have to act like you want to motivate people and inspire people. If you're not, you better learn to. And as a judge, you need to be looking at that speaker with that criteria in mind. Do they look like an international speech contest? What's their voice sound like? Can you hear them clearly? Are they enunciating? Are they speaking loud, soft? Are they speaking quickly and slowly? For effect, for a pause. Are there pauses there? That is about their voice, the flexibility. Did the speaker's voice have contrast, fast and slow, loud and soft? I did that. Pause for effect. Did the speaker enunciate clearly? All those things need to be thought of as specific criteria in a contest. I always think that unfortunately, some of our international speakers are at a disadvantage because they speak with a really heavy accent. And Mickey, I know that you've been disadvantaged in some contests that I've heard you give great speeches, and I thought you were disadvantaged because the judges we're used to hearing you, but a lot of judges aren't, and so some weren't understanding, and so I think you got shortchanged on what I thought was a very high quality speech, but because the judges weren't quite getting it, they score you down. So there may be some bias there as well. So then manner, directness, assurance, how enthusiastic is the speaker? Again, my example behind the lectern. Are they enthusiastic? Are they passionate? If you're in an international speech contest, you better be there because you're passionate about something. And show it. Show the passion. Give it away to the audience. That's why they're there. They're not there to hear you strain. It's like, is this guy even speaking? His lips are moving, but I don't hear anything coming out. Did the speaker exude confidence and energy? Did the speaker leave no doubt in your mind? Or you're questioning? Were you questioning, what did he say? Why did he say it? My friend Ken Shelato there, when I gave a speech, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, quite a few years ago, and Ken said, that was a really great speech, but I have no idea what you meant. He didn't get the point. And I remember in the moment thinking, why didn't he get it? It's not my fault. I said it. He was in the audience listening, I presume. Why didn't he get it? Well, here's the thing. As the speaker, it's your job to get your point across. And if the audience or the judge didn't get it, it's not their fault. It's your fault. As a presenter, as a judge, you want to be judging the speakers in that respect. Did they get their point across? Was it clear? Was there no doubt in your mind that you knew what they were saying, you knew where they wanted you to go, and where you wanted to end up, and what they want you to do after the fact that they were there? No doubt in your mind. If there's doubt in your mind, then you score them appropriately. And on the last, we'll go through some of the points. Did the speaker appear to be having a good time? If the speaker's not having a good time, you're not having a good time, which means the whole thing is a fiasco and failure. So, language. 10 points appropriateness. This is every Toastmaster in every contest should knock these off. Bam, bam. When I'm a judge, that's the first thing I look for. I look for appropriateness of the topic. Is it appropriate to the meeting? Is it appropriate to the contest? Is their language good or is their language bad? And if it's good, just partway through the speech, I know by and large it's going to be good. Check it off, 10 points. Appropriate topic, good language, not questionable. That's an automatic 10 points. The speech is controversial. A speech can be controversial, but you must be tactful. And you must be diplomatic in the delivery of it. You cannot hurt other people's thoughts, opinions. You can give yours. I heard a guy give one on gun control one year. Why everyone should have a gun. A lot of people were not happy with it. It was at a district level contest. I thought, wow, this is bold. To go with a topic like that in a contest at this level, what a challenge. He didn't win place or show. But the problem was his topic.
You got shot?
It was great. See, he had passion. He wanted to give a message, but it didn't resonate. And he could have been more tactful and could have been more diplomatic about it, and probably could have had a better topic choice. Did the speakers choose the words not to have? Did the speaker's choice of words? The speaker's choice of words did not have clarity or simplicity. Again, these are areas where you can lose points. As Toastmasters in a contest, we shouldn't be losing these points. You should be able to have clarity. Did the speaker's words evoke, did they not evoke vivid images and word pictures? That's what we want to do. Something to look for as a judge. Are they evoking emotion? Are they evoking mental pictures, images? Or are they not? Are they non-descriptive? So then, we move down to correctness, grammar, pronunciation, word selection. Again, this is some place where you can lose points. We shouldn't lose points. Grammar, pronunciation is careless or lazy. Dropping your I's, your INGs, all of those type of things. We shouldn't be doing those. And score the contestant down appropriately based on how they perform to that status. So here's the ballot again. So we can score in all these topics from 0 to 8 points is fair. 9 to 13 is good. 14 to 19 is very good. And 20 is excellent. That's doing everything right. And people use different forms, and I'm not going to go through that on how to fold over the judge's ballot and where to put the names. That's something that would be covered in judge's briefing. And there's multiple ways you can do that. I don't want to take time to do that. So when you're judging, you really have to think about all this specific. It's not an easy job, folks. It's a difficult job if you're doing a good job as a judge. So think about what you heard, how it sounded, based upon all this criteria, and use a number to judge what it was. I've heard speakers say, well, I take the first speaker and I put him right in the middle somewhere so that I can listen to the other speakers and I have room to move. And I go, what? Sorry, I don't adhere to that. I'm going to judge each speaker based on specific criteria in a point-rated value system, and if each one of them gets 100 points at the end of it, I have to break that tie. And it may be the way they moved on stage, it may be the sound of their voice, it may be the way they dressed, maybe the way they didn't dress. But I'm going to judge each and every speaker based on specific criteria with a point value system. I'm not going to start somebody in the middle or somebody down lower so that I can move up and down, because you're not supposed to be comparing one speaker to the next. That's the biggest thing in judging. You're not comparing the first speaker to the third speaker, the fifth speaker to the 10th speaker. You're judging on point value based on specific criteria. Mickey came to me after a humor speech contest one year, and she said, I don't know if I did the right thing. I feel bad. She said, I followed the judges' training, and this one contestant, their score was higher, but I thought the other one was funny. Funnier, I should say. I said, Mickey, you based it on criteria. You gave each one a score. She's like, yeah. I said, there you go. It's all on a point rating system. And maybe at the end you thought, well, that one was funnier. They got more laughs. But there's a lot of criteria here. In a humorous speech, it's not all about the laughs. There's a lot of other criteria that you judge it on. So you could have a speaker that did really poor in these two areas. Guess what? It's only 10 points. They may have done exceptionally well up here, where the point values are much higher. So you have to trust what you've seen, judge based on the points, and at the end of the day, you have to trust in yourself that you have used a good number with that person, and you judge each contestant exactly the same, without comparing them back and forth. So, something significant and important should be said. Again, 10 steps to better hygiene, not a good idea. Do it if you want to. You're not going to get disqualified for it. Originality, disqualification, use good judgment. Use good judgment. A contestant can only be disqualified by the contest chair, a judge, or a complaint by another contestant can be filed on originality. Originality, 25% or less may be devoted to others' quotes or material. Any quoted reference material must be so identified. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I gave a speech a couple of years ago, and I started off singing. Here's a little song I wrote. You may want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Do you know that song? Everybody knows that song, right? They've heard it sometime. And I had someone try to disqualify me from the contest because they thought that I was trying to sell the audience that I wrote that song. Those are the words in the song. So I actually there was a huge battle that ensued, and I managed to win and go on to the next level. But at the next level, I changed it to, here's a little song Bobby McFerrin wrote. You may want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. I had to give credit to the singer. So if you're using someone else's material, you need to give credit to it in some way. And here's where I say use good judgment. Because I think that year I battled with Toastmasters International. Numerous emails back and forth. Other folks in the Toastmasters community over this whole issue. Because there are world champions from the past who sang songs, did not give credit to, who would have been disqualified if you take this rule to the letter of how you interpret it. In the end, Toastmasters said, it's up to your district, however they interpret it. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. As a judge, use good common sense. I also sang some lines from the movie Sound of Music in that. Now, I didn't get any grief over that because everybody knows the Sound of Music. Got some criticism at the men's prison over it. But so here's why I say use good judgment. If you're going to try and disqualify somebody, make sure that you are exactly right. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that you understand the rules about disqualification. So did the speaker touch the head and the heart? We all share 6 basic emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. That's from Ellen Boyd. We all share those emotions. As a judge, think about how many of those emotions were in the speech. The more of those things are in the speech, the more it's going to touch the head and the heart. So final consideration, the international speech, was the speech topic chosen wisely? 10 steps to better hygiene, or don't worry, be happy? Was the topic controversial? It's okay, but it should be diplomatic. Was the speech built on classic but timely things? You can take a classic example of something that's happened in life and bring it up to date to something that's going on in society today. That's classic and timely. Did the speaker get personal and eliminate the material of others? And did the speaker say or do something the audience hasn't heard or seen before? I heard a guy giving a keynote speech at a huge conference, and he was telling the starfish story. You've heard the starfish story, walking along the beach, and there's a starfish, a little kid, he's throwing the starfish back in, and he's telling the story like it happened to him. And I don't know, probably most of the people in the audience are going, dude, not your story. That was not you walking on the beach, that was somebody else. And we didn't really hear what he had to say, and he lost a ton of credibility at that point. What else am I going to believe that he says? If he's trying to pass someone else's significant work off as his own, should I believe anything else that he says? So be original. You have your own life stories. Use them. Don't use other people's material. Did the speaker select a topic they care deeply about? Were they sincere? So, okay, moving on to the evaluation contest. Again, we're going to go through the ballot. This is exactly the same, and I just put it up there. You have it in your handout as well. We're judging. We're not evaluating. Evaluating is personal opinion. Judging is based against specific criteria on what they did. So here's the ballot. 100 points again for evaluation. 40% is analytical quality. How analytical were you in giving something to the speaker? Recommendations. Did you give good, positive recommendations on how to make that speech better? Technique, sympathetic, sensitive, motivational. As an evaluator, and you're judging an evaluator, was that evaluator sympathetic to the speaker? Did it make sense to them? Did they motivate that speaker to want to come back and speak again? I've been in a lot of contests, and there was one that our club sponsored, an area contest, where I thought Roy Thomas was the target speaker. Some of you know Roy Thomas. He was a target speaker, gave a really great speech, and I was one of the evaluators, so I didn't win. But there was 2 other evaluators there, and they crucified him. Absolutely crucified him. And I was going, this is horrible. This is not the way we do things at Toastmasters. And the guy who was the worst won.
Yes.
I was like,
I remember.
yeah. He was like, what happened here? This is not the way we do things at Toastmasters. They weren't sympathetic. They weren't sensitive. They really certainly weren't motivational, because Roy said, I guess they didn't like me. I'll never be back again. Thankfully, he did come back, and he did become a member and was with us for quite a while. And then technique, and summation. Is there summation? As an evaluator in a contest, and you're a judge, and you're listening to the person give the evaluation, did they just end it because they're out of time? Or did they say in summation, in conclusion? And then they run through the topics, the things that they just said. It's a summation, a conclusion to give away to the target speaker or the sample speaker. So here we go. Analytical quality, clear and focused. Analytical quality, was the evaluation effective? It's about the speaker. It's not about you as the evaluator. Oh, I loved your speech. It reminded me of that time when I was on the beach. We had the dog, and the kids were running, and the speaker's going, so? I don't care about your vacation on the beach. I want to know how my speech can be better. Did the evaluator identify specific strengths and weaknesses? It's the job of the evaluator to do that. Were the evaluator's comments clear and logical? Did they make sense? Were they going to make that speaker's speech better? Recommendations. Did the evaluator offer recommendations for improvement? I've seen evaluations. You've seen them here as well. Oh, he did everything great. I can get that from my dad. Well, maybe not. But we don't want to hear that. We're here for what? We're here to improve. We're here to get better. Don't tell me he did everything all fuzzy and shiny and wonderful how great it was. I need to know, what can I do to make it better? We all need to know, what can we do to make our presentations better? If all you do is just say, oh, wonderful one, this guy's been doing this for 15 years, and I couldn't tell him anything to make it better. Baloney. Ask Dina. She can always find something to say about to make my speech better. So, were the recommendations practical, helpful, and positive? The recommendations enable the speaker to improve his or her next speech. That's what an evaluator does. And as a judge, make sure that's what they're actually doing. Judging technique, sympathetic, sensitive, motivational. Was the evaluator sensitive to the feelings of the speaker? So I'm sort of reiterating, we've covered this ground. Did the evaluator inspire the speaker with his or her own words? Something that evaluator needs to do. Give them something to improve, but do it in a motivational, inspiring way, so they want to come back and speak again. Don't chase them off, so they don't want to come back. The evaluator encourages the speaker in future efforts. We always want you to come back. We always want you to be on the next stage, wherever that is. It's our job as evaluators to do that. And as a judge, we need to make sure that those evaluators, that's what they're doing. The people who are winning and placing, they've done a good job. They've filled out the criteria that they're supposed to. In summation, did the evaluator summarize his or her suggestions in the conclusion? Really important for the speaker, because they hear a lot of things, you say a lot of things as an evaluator, as a judge, you want to be listening for, did they have a conclusion? Did they have a wrap-up? Did they give sort of a quick bullet point of what the speaker could improve upon, what he did really well? So he can take those things away and do those things that he did well again, and take the suggestions and make improvements so he does better things next time. So here again, here's the ballot. 100 points, 40 points, 40 points on how analytical you are. Now here, Alan Dealey, for those of you who remember our dear friend Alan Dealey, he and I used to go around from time to time, and I did submit in the end because Alan would say, that guy wasn't dressed for the part. He didn't have a coat and tie. A contestant evaluating. I said, Alan, evaluation is not about how the evaluator looks. They could be dressed in an old holy t-shirt and patched up jeans. If that person gave a knockout evaluation, so if that speaker became better, I don't care what they look like. He said, yeah, but what if you got a tie? And you have to decide, well, if I have a tie, and the guy with the suit and tie gave it exactly the same really great knockout evaluation as the guy in the t-shirt, the holy t-shirt and the jeans with the patches, then I'm going to give it to the guy, because he came to win. He was dressed for success. But bar something like that, it is not about how that evaluator looks. It's about analytical quality. What did they give the speaker? Recommendations. Did they give them good recommendations? Technique. Was their technique good? Was it sympathetic and sensitive to the speaker? And did they give a summation? Those are the things that are specific. That's the criteria that makes a good evaluator. As a judge, this is the criteria, rating it by numbers, that we have to give. You can see summation, it's only worth 15 points. So maybe the guy blew the summation altogether and didn't give one. I was oh, I'm not going to let that guy win. I've heard people tell me this because he didn't give a summation. I'm like, it's only worth 15 points. So take 15 points away from him. He might still have scored 40 points on the other side, which allows him to win. It's all about the points and rating them properly, judging against criteria. So here are areas of potential bias and your top duties as a judge, which is leading me off the platform.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why did they choose the word sympathetic versus empathetic for that?
You'd have to write TI.
That's just strange.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Empathy is good too.
Big difference.
So, unfamiliar judging form. The two gals that I rode up in the elevator with at that district contest, they were completely unfamiliar with the judging form. Now they gave it the quick once over, and I told them, please read the back. Please read the back of the judging form, because on the back of the judging form is all the criteria on how to be a good judge, on the things to look for. Please do me a favor. Read the criteria on the back. If you're unfamiliar with the judging form, are you going to be a good judge? Mediocre, probably at best. The halo effect. We're going to attribute a favorable trait to this person. I love people with bald heads. They have got to be good speakers. They have to be intellectuals. Because everyone knows people with bald heads are more intellectual than those of us with hair. Because we just have strong backs.
I see you guys. I want you.
So that's just an example of if they were, oh, look at that guy. He is built. He must work out. He must be stupid. Oh no, he works at, what's the gym with the purple colors? The
Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness. Thank you. Thank you for the assistance. Oh no, he must work out at Planet Fitness. He's really smart. Those are biases. We all hold biases. I don't care who we are. We really, as a judge, have to work really hard at not having a bias. Oh, I know that person. They used to be a big shot in the district or international. They've got to be good. They've got to be smart. I don't care what they say coming out of their mouth. It's going to be great, and they should win. Really? No. What do they say? You know, I've used this, and I'm not going to say any names, but some years it's been good to be so-and-so. They won. It was a good day to be so-and-so. Brian. Was that the year that you won, Brian?
Oh.
How many here have been to a contest and won? Area level? Division level? District level?
Kind of second place.
Yeah. There's a ton of talent in this room. Take advantage of it. The reverse halo effect. We sort of already talked about that. You know, oh, guy's got holy jeans and patches on his knees. He can't be a good evaluator. Really? Listen to the criteria. Don't pay attention to what they look like. What's coming out of their mouth doesn't make sense. First, last is best. The first speaker is remembered because he or she is a reference point for the other speakers. Wrong. I can tell you that, you know, nobody wants to be in a competition as a speaker. You never want to draw number one. Never. Because you're afraid you're going to be forgotten. And I'm sad to say that it does happen sometimes. You get forgotten. And you say, oh, I can be in the middle. The middle's good. You know, I want to be last. Every speaker wants to go last. Because last is most memorable. You're the freshest words in the judge's mind. So here's the problem with that whole thought process. If that's what's going on in your mind, you are counting on the judges not using the point system or the judge's ballot. You're basing that judgment on the judges being poor judges and comparing you against other speakers that you've taught. I can tell you that one year I'm terrible. I have like no luck. I drew first place at the club level, first place at the area level, first place at the division level, first place at the district level. I'm like, how does it get so bad? And when I went to regionals, when we saw regionals, guess what place I drew at regionals? Yep, first place. I won at all those levels except regional. So first place, it's sort of phenomenon, but there's some truth to it. People have done studies, they've looked at statistically, and Darren LaCroix actually did it. And when he was contemplating first place, last place, you know, how was he going to react to that? And there was like 10 people had won the world championships from the first place position. He's like, great, first place. And then he drew the 5th position. He didn't know what to do with that. He's like, so number 5, the sympathy vote. You may be tempted to give a break to a new Toastmasters. Oh, they're new. Shucks. They're going to be good. I know they are someday. Let's let them win. What came out of their mouth? What did their gestures look like? What did their voice look like? Not they're new. Not that, oh, this guy's been there 10 times before. Yeah, he's got to win. No. I'm testimony to that. No, I didn't win. Been there before. So, again, you don't want to give anybody the sympathy vote. They look good, they look bad, they look sick, they look healthy. That's a sympathy vote. We don't vote for that. We vote based on criteria, what comes out of their mouth. Give someone else a chance. And Mickey's won 10 times before. Let's let somebody else win. I don't care how good she is.
They do that one day.
I've seen it done. The neat thing about being a chief judge, you get to read the ballots. Now, you can't talk about any of this stuff when you're a ballot counter, but I've seen it happen in contests. And it's so obvious, and you can't really say anything about it. You can't bring it up to anybody. It's just the way it works sometimes. I always say, if you're getting in the contest to win, that's great, but don't count on it. You get in it because you have a message to give. You'll win no matter what. So, second time around, when he gave that speech at the area contest, it was better. Now he's in the division, it wasn't as good. Gosh, I can't vote for this guy to win. It wasn't as good as it was the last time. Well, how was it this time? And how did it stack up against the criteria, the point rating system? Wow, it was better this time than last time that I heard it. Okay, we'll score them on points based on criteria. Personal preferences, he should be wearing that cowboy hat. Unless he's giving a speech about having been a cowboy or rodeo. I won the district humor speech contest years ago, and there was a gentleman that I competed against that gave a great humor speech. It was so funny. I thought he had won because it was about golf, and he had on a golf shirt and shorts, a golf club, and a golf ball, and someone who was a judge came up to me, shouldn't have in the first place because I won the contest. I was funny too, but he said, that guy was not dressed appropriately for a contest. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, where was his coat and tie? Should look like you. I'm like, no, he was dressed perfectly for that contest. He had a speech about golf, and he had on a 3-button shirt and shorts, and he was perfect for that speech. So, as a judge, we don't want to let those biases creep in because they do. You know, I have a headache. My dinner was cold. Why did I have to have chicken? I wanted fish. Pay attention to what the speaker's doing and saying. No, get rid of those biases, those things. So this is here. See, I knew I couldn't count on myself, so I wrote it in here. Judging is a subjective process that we try to make objective. That's from my buddy David Gavan. And it's absolutely true.
I agree.
So your top 10 duties as a judge. Avoid evaluating the speakers. You're not there to evaluate. You're there to judge based on specific criteria. Avoid timing the speakers. Not your job as a judge. That's what we have timers for. Pay no attention to the lights. I've seen judges looking at the lights. Well, you might miss something important the speaker said. Pay no attention to the lights. Avoid time. Oh, I said that. Arrive early for the judges briefing, please. How many contests we've been to where we can't get started because the people involved in running the contest don't show up on time, including the contestants? So especially for judges, timers, everybody needs to show up early for the contest so it can start on time. Know the judging criteria, please. Know the judging criteria. Use it. Read the back of the form. Break your own tie. We talked about that. Mark first, second, third place on your ballot. You have to mark first, second, and third. And the first place person gets how many points? 3. Second place person gets how many points?
2.
And the third place person gets?
1.
1. And the fourth place person gets?
Nothing.
Zippo. Try again next year. Okay. Remember to sign your ballot. If your ballot is not signed, your name should be printed and signed on the ballot. They'll toss it out. It needs to be legible so they can read it. Keep your paperwork and decisions confidential. If you're a judge, take them with you, throw them away someplace else. You never throw them away in the contest room. People will come back. They will filter through the garbage. They will get the ballots out and see who this judge was and how they judged me and what could I have done better. That's not what contest is about. So take all your stuff with you. Keep it confidential. People ask you as a judge. You can give them an opinion. You can evaluate them. but you can't tell them why this person won, why I judge this person better, or that person. Can't do that. It's a big no-no. Strive to remain completely objective. This is the toughest thing to do as a judge, to remain completely objective. There's my buddy Mark. Man, he's a good evaluator. He's my buddy. He's from my club, and I'm a judge, and somebody else was better. But I like Mark. I want Mark to win. But he didn't score as many points on the ballot. So I'm in second place. As much as I want Mark to win, can't go there. It's the hardest thing you ever have to do as a judge. Set those personal biases aside and use the numbers on the ballot. Be completely objective. Number 10, this is your biggest thing. Always pick the winner. Don't leave there thinking somebody else should have won. Don't leave a contest. If you're a judge, don't be one of the judges that makes people think, what just happened here? That person obviously won and they came in second. How could that be? Or if they didn't place, or they came in third. I've seen all those scenarios happen in my years of Toastmasters. When you're the judge, make sure that that does not apply to you. All you have in life is your integrity. You give up your integrity, what do you have left? Toastmasters is about leadership. Leadership is about integrity. When it comes to contest, you want to have integrity. So this is from David Brooks. Speakers should not compete because they're the best. Speakers should compete to become the best. Contests are not about winning. Contests are about improvement. Ground I already covered. Do you have any questions? You're actually not supposed to ask questions at the end of your presentation. So I'm out. So you have to pick the winner. Remember, only you can prevent poor contests. So let's make it a great contest year. Here's the thing. I think anybody who's attended this judge's training takes this work, the little notes home with you, and you use them. I think you'll be an excellent judge. Whether you've given 6 speeches or 1 speech, you've been through some judges training, makes it all applicable to you, and do your homework, do some research, and I am confident you can be a good judge. And here's the other tip I'll tell you. You will never be as good a judge this year as you will be 10 years from now. 15 years as a Toastmaster, I get better as a judge at every contest. I didn't think it was possible back in the day, in 2001, 1999, I thought I was a great judge. All these years later, I go, maybe not so good. Much better now. Do the best you can. Pick the winner.